Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad you're joining us today for our annual Title I parent meeting. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be recording the meeting for those that are not able to attend. I don't know if you can look at the bottom of your screen, but there's a little icon that says chat box. And if you can please type in your name in the chat box just so that we can record your attendance, that would be great. We hope to share great information with you this morning about our school and about our Title I program and how it impacts our school and our students. And Ms. Juno and I have a presentation that we're going to share with you, and we're going to take turns. So I will be addressing some of the slides, and then she'll be addressing some of the other slides. And then feel free to, if you have questions, that if something comes, like a question comes up, and you can just type it in the chat box, and that way at the end we have reserved some time for questions, and if we're able to answer them right now, we will. And if it's something that we don't know the answer to, we can always get back with you with that answer. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen and start sharing the presentation with you. So this is our Title I annual meeting, and we're going to share the benefits of parent and family engagement in this presentation.
Good morning, parents. As Ms. Alvarez mentioned, I am going to help with the meeting this morning. If you don't know who I am, I'm the counselor here. You might have heard the kids talk about Miss Jeannie, and that is me. So first of all, kudos to all of you for Zooming in this morning because it's gorgeous outside and there's nothing more valuable than your time. So thank you for your time this morning to learn a little bit more about what Title I entails. If you don't know a whole lot about Title I is the largest federally funded education program for elementary and secondary schools. So funding, you'll learn this morning that funding for Title I schools, such as Salina Primary, is meant to help students who are at risk for falling behind academically. So this funding is expected to help close the gap for these students, and schools receiving this funding are expected to show academic growth. Now, you're going to see this morning that this support looks very different on every campus. If you went to 5 Title I meetings this morning through the DFW area, you would hear 5 different ways in which that support involves, because the support depends on the size of the school, the grade levels the school serves, the demographics of the school. The schools that, however, on all schools, the schools that receive the funding are held to a greater degree of accountability, which is awesome, always a good thing. And one of the things about this program is that the school that receives the funding, the benefits we get from it help all of our students, not just a certain group of students like our economically disadvantaged students. So it's often thought of as, this program's often thought as a program that provides the biggest bang for the buck. In other words, it can impact the largest number of students.
Awesome. So our campus, there's different ways that you can qualify to receive Title I funding. And one way is by having a very large percentage of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch. And then there's a second way. We do not qualify in that way. We qualify the second way. The second way that you can qualify for Title I funding is if the percentage of your free and reduced lunch students is greater than the district average, and ours is greater than the district average. So we're about 35% free and reduced lunch, and then that is how we qualify for this funding. So I shared this in our newsletter. Hopefully you had an opportunity to kind of look at it. It is in draft mode. There are 2 things that Title I requires us to do. And one of them is for us to have a parent and family engagement policy. And another thing that we have to do is also have what's called a school parent compact. They're both in draft mode right now. This is something that we create together with you all. If we didn't have COVID, I would invite you all to come in. I'd give you a copy. We'd kind of talk through it. We'd make changes, updates to it. And so I will want to give all of you the opportunity to give feedback. And so I'm going to share them again in the newsletter. And if you have any ideas of things that we can do to improve them, make them better, I would love for you all to email me. And I'm going to put this in the newsletter tomorrow when it goes out. And I will also include this presentation. And if you could get it back to me, and I have a date on there by October 9th, because I need to have it finalized by October 26th when you all come for parent-teacher conferences. I want to be able to give you the actual completed parent-family policy and the compact as well. And so the first one, the policy is, when we think about what we do at our school, family engagement and involvement is very, very important to us. And it's really, really hard for us because right now, COVID is not allowing us to have a lot of visitors on our campus. And we really need our parents here. It's good for our kids, it's good for our school. And so we're having to do things a little differently. So we're trying to be creative. As you probably noticed, if you have a kindergarten student, we changed the way we're going to do our ABC fashion show, and we moved it outside. That way you all can come. So if we need to get creative and think of other ways to do things so you all can be more involved, I want to hear your ideas. I want us to be able to do that. I want you all to be able to come to the school and be more involved. And then the second part of that is the school parent compact, and I'll let Ms. Juno talk a little bit more about that.
All right, so this slide just basically outlines the must-haves in our family engagement policy agreement. So we should involve parents in an organized, ongoing, and timely way in planning, review, evaluation, and improvement of the parent and family engagement policy and program. It should provide timely information about parent and family engagement activities, provide information to parents about curriculum and assessment, and finally, if requested, provide additional meetings with parents to discuss decisions for the education of their child, which the last two are pretty much best practices, I think, for all schools. And of course, parents should always feel welcome to request a conference or additional meetings and be in on decision-making on their child's educational process. So one other thing, I noticed a couple of you just now zoomed in with us, and you missed the announcement that Ms. Alvarez made. If you'll please leave your name in the chat box so we can have a record of who attended our meeting today. The next slide goes through the steps that we go through to accomplish these things, and this is done through the school parent compact written agreement. So it should describe how parents, families, school staff, and students share this responsibility for improved student and academic achievement. It addresses a high quality curriculum and instruction to meet academic standards, and Ms. Alvarez is going to explain in just a few minutes what our curriculum and instruction looks like, the ways in which parents will support their child's learning, and all of you here this morning are already showing one way to be involved and to attend meetings. Stresses the importance of frequent communication between school and home and the value of parent-teacher conferences. Notice that big bold letter, probably the most important word on this whole slide. This is required in elementary schools for all Title I schools. And then finally, the last bullet point, Title I parents have the right to be involved in the development of the parent-school conference. That's kind of the main takeaway you should get from today, that this is your right to give your input on and give your ideas, be creative on our school parent compact.
Okay, so the next few slides, I'm going to talk about curriculum. So as you know, we don't get to teach whatever we want. We have to follow what the state tells us that we need to teach at each grade level. So the next few slides, I'm going to share what we do for what curriculum we use, how we assess our students, how we progress monitor them, and what student supports are available to students who are not having success with our core instruction. So in pre-kindergarten, we follow what's called the Texas Pre-Kindergarten Guidelines, and I included the link here. And so afterwards, when I share this with you, because if I click on it right now, it's going to take me there, and you can see exactly what your child is going to be learning this year, because everything that we do has to follow the Texas Pre-Kindergarten Guideline. The state also requires us to assess our students, and they tell us when to assess. They tell us what instrument to use to assess, and they even give us an assessment window. And so we assess our students at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and at the end of the year. And we use an assessment that's called CLI Engage, and it's called Circle, and we use that assessment throughout the year. And we also use it for progress monitoring to see that they're making growth. In kindergarten, we follow, like I said, we have to follow what the state tells us to teach. And as our curriculum, we use Texas Resource System, which is our viable curriculum, and it follows the TEKS, which stands for Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. So once you get this presentation, when you click on it, it's going to take you to, I linked it to the kindergarten Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, so you can see what is my child going to be learning in language arts and math and science and social studies and all of those areas. If you have any question about that, it's all very detailed there. And also for assessment, so this year this is actually new. We've always had to assess our students, but this year the state has given us 2 options. And we chose one of the options called DIBELS. And DIBELS stands for Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. And it's a required assessment, and we will give it to them at the beginning of the year. We're actually finishing up right now with that testing. And we'll also do it in the middle of the year and the end of the year. So when you have your parent-teacher conference in October, the teacher will be able to share the results of that assessment with you. We also use another assessment that's called MAP for short. It's Measures of Academic Progress, and we use that one to assess their math growth. And we do start that one in the middle of the year and end of the year. And lastly, we use DRA, which is a developmental reading assessment, and we give it at least twice. Sometimes we might give it more than 2 times. If we have a student that comes in as a reader, we might need to do it 3 times because we'll have to do theirs a little earlier to kind of see what their reading level is. And besides those assessments, your child's teacher is also going to create teacher-created assessments that they will use in the classroom to gauge their learning and their progress. So sometimes students need additional support. And so we have some things already in place. We have something called 504. It's often referred to as Section 504 because that's where it is in the law. And that is, and I'm going to just read to you what it is. To qualify, a student must have a physical or mental impairment which substantially limits one or more major life activities, have a handicapping condition. So something like, for example, if your child has been identified by a physician to have ADHD and it's affecting their academics and their learning, that might qualify them to receive Section 504 services. Sometimes it's temporary. Sometimes it could be your child broke their leg and now they're going to be in a wheelchair for a few months or something like that. That might qualify them for 504 because that's going to change the way they're going to be able to access our school. So you can qualify different ways. Another thing that we have, it's called MTSS, which is a multi-tiered systems of support. And so there are 3 tiers of support. The first, tier 1 is your general instruction, the instruction that the teacher gives to all students. So if students with that instruction are struggling or a little bit behind, the teacher can provide what's called tier 2 instruction. And that will be something additional she does or he does to help the child be successful with an academic area or a behavior area. If they're not being successful with the core instruction and plus the additional support that the teacher is providing, then we move them to what's called tier 3. And at that point, our interventionists will be working with those students. And all parents are involved in all of this. So if your child is on a tier right now, we have very few. But if your child is on a tier, is receiving MTSS, you will know because you will be notified. We will have a meeting with you and you will come in and we work together through that. And then of course we have what's called special education services. And to receive special education services, your child must qualify. And they have to be evaluated to see if they do qualify. It could be for different things. There's 13 criteria. So if you click right here where it says IDEA, There are 13 different criterias that will qualify you for special education services. Like if you have a speech impairment, or if you have an intellectual disability, or if you have an orthopedic impairment, there's many different ways that you can qualify. If you want to have if you suspect maybe your child has a delay in any area, if you would talk to the teacher, if you request an evaluation, we can do it. And also, if we notice something, we can request an evaluation with your permission, of course. So it can be initiated by the parent, or it can be initiated by the school. We also are required to screen all of our students for dyslexia, and that's done later in the year. And then lastly, we also have what's called a gifted and talented program. So in January, we'll open up that window. And if you're interested in having your child tested for gifted and talented, and they qualify, we can provide those services here at school. And Title I also requires us to let you know if your child is being taught by a teacher that is maybe on a probationary certificate, or if they're teaching and let's say they're teaching kindergarten, but they're not certified for kindergarten, they're only certified for like high school. We're supposed to let you know if that's the case. And I'm just happy to announce that all of our teachers are highly qualified, and every single one of them is teaching in the area that they're certified to teach in. So no one's being taught by a substitute or by somebody who's teaching out of their field. And we also have 6 instructional aides on our campus that work with our students, and all of them are also highly qualified. We actually have 3 of them that have a degree. We have and 2 that are currently working on it. So they're very qualified.
All right, so that was a lot of information, parents, to digest, but really important and good information to know, especially if your child it's your first child starting out in the school system. This is also really important for you to know. In fact, I have 2 grown sons, and they have children that are starting school, and I've already trained them to always check out how does my school measure up to the state standards. So you can always go on the Texas Education Agency website and see how we rate on our state assessments. All schools are listed there. But we also are required to post them on the district website. So after this presentation, if you want to just take a peek, you can go to the Salina ISD website, click on required postings, the tab required postings, and then scroll down and click on accountability, and it will show you how we measure up. And our school data for Salina Primary is included with Odell's data. So you're not going to see a separate listing for us. And like I said, and it bears repeating, you should always check this out, check it regularly.
Communication. So hopefully you all are receiving our weekly newsletter. If you're not, please let me know, and I will add your email to our list. We send it out every single Friday in English and in Spanish. We also, teachers send out Thursday folders with information for you. We also post on social media. Sometimes we post directly from the school, but also our district will post onto our Facebook page as well. And we do call outs and send out text. In the classroom, a communication that comes to you often comes through an app that the teacher might be using. They use some of them use Remind, some of them use Blooms, and some of them use Class Dojo. So we really try to communicate with you in multiple ways so that you can get the information about everything that's happening at school.
All right, this is a wonderful quote that says, when school, families, and communities groups work together to support learning, children tend to do better in school, stay in school longer, and like school more. And I, as a counselor, know this. I've been in this business long enough to know. It's difficult to measure, though. And so when you look for research on Title I data, it's often included with other things. But anytime, I can just tell you from all of these years, anytime we have positive connections between school, home, and students, the student achievement will be impacted in a positive way. And sometimes those results don't show up until years later. Like I know that the kids I work with, if I, instill those good ideas in them, and get them in the right direction, you parents, you get them started in the right direction. We don't see the success of that until they graduate from high school and go on to college and then become adults in our community. So we do see that parent involvement benefits schools, students, parents, and community. And so you see that listed on our next slide. And then the following slides will show us just some of the benefits we see for each group. For students, higher grades and test scores, more likely to complete homework, better attendance, absolutely fewer placements in special education, more positive attitudes and behavior, higher graduation rates, and greater enrollment in post-secondary education. And then for our parent and family benefits, we see more confidence from parents in school, increased confidence in their parenting skills. It creates a home environment that encourages learning, encourages parents to advance their own education and skills in the workplace. And I just want to say, there is research that shows that when we look at what changes the odds for our kids, what makes the difference between someone that ends up being successful in the workplace and community and some of these kids that fall through the cracks. And they came up with a list of assets that students have to have. And one of those assets, one of the biggest things, is parents involved in the school, being visible in the school, being interested in things that go on in school.
And of course, we as a school also benefit. So when our parents are involved, it improves our teacher morale. We have higher ratings of teachers by parents and more support from families, higher student achievement, and better reputation in the community. We wanted to leave you all also with a way for you all to reach out and contact us. And just, I know it's hard because we haven't had a lot of face-to-face time with you all. But this is our contact information. I'm listed there as the principal, and then we have the counselor, the nurse, the cafeteria, and our transportation department. And we also wanted to take the opportunity to let you know about some upcoming events that we don't want you to miss, that we would love for you to be part of. And I'll let Ms. Juno go ahead and share those.
All right, if you look at the first one, this is coming up rather quickly next Tuesday. I see a couple of familiar email addresses in our chat box already, so I think you've already signed up. If you haven't, and you have the opportunity, next Tuesday at this same time at 9 a.m. is the Coffee with the Counselor. We are going to try to do this every first Tuesday of the month. And this month, our coffee will focus on anxiety, because sometimes we see that our kids are coming to school with anxiety, and parents are thinking, what do I do? How do I handle anxiety in children? Children internalize the same anxieties and worries that we do, all right? But sometimes they don't have the vocabulary to express them like we do. So we'll talk about that, signs and suggestions and solutions. And then at the very end of that week, we're going to have some fun, the Color Run Obstacle Course Challenge. And as Ms. Alvarez, she mentioned the other night in our last meeting, and I'm going to mention it again. Last year on the final Zooms for our kids, I asked them what their favorite thing was of the year. And over again, I heard the Color Run. So this is a big hit with kids. They really, really enjoy it. And parents will be able to join in. Since this is an outdoor event, you'll be getting the information on this and the times and the schedules. And as she mentioned earlier, the ABC Fashion Show, which is also moved outside at a later date so that you can all enjoy this as well. You'll be getting a schedule. And then the Parent-Teacher Conference Day following up at the end of the month. So when we talked about that parent-school involvement, you've got 4 opportunities right there just in the month of October.
Yes, and we hope that you will be able to join it. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I want to open it up for questions. I'm going to go back to the chat box to see if there are any questions in there. I don't see any, but if you all have any and you want to unmute yourself and you want to ask, it's for the good of the group. All right, it seems like there's no questions. I just want to appreciate all of you for being part of this meeting and for joining in this morning. And please know that we are here for your kids and we want to collaborate with you and connect with you and get you more involved. And as soon as they tell us we can open our doors, you all are welcome and we want you back in the building. So if you don't have any questions, we're going to go ahead and end our meeting. And I just want to say bye and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.